Hello and welcome to the Federal podcast on India-Australia Test Series. I am Aprameya. Today, India took a 1-0 lead in the four-match Test Series for the Border Gavaskar Trophy with an innings and 132-run victory inside 3 days in Nagpur. Ravichandran Ashwin claimed 5 wickets in the second innings, while Ravindra Jadeja won the Player of the Match award for his 7 wickets and 70 with the bat. Earlier today, India extended its first innings lead to 223 runs after scoring 400 in reply to Australia's 177. To dissect India's dominant performance, we have senior cricket writer R Kaushik joining us from the Vidarbha Cricket Association Stadium in Nagpur. Thanks, Kaushik, for talking to the Federal.
Hi, Apu. My pleasure as always.
Yeah, we have been discussing for past 2 days how dominant India was, and it's just a 3-day finish, and Australia was bowled out for just 91 in the second innings. Were you surprised the way the Australian batsmen capitulated against the Indian spinners, especially Ashwin and Jadeja?
Completely. Surprise is probably an understatement, and I don't think I'm in a minority because Rohit Sharma came for the press conference and he was asked the same question about the Australian surrender in the second innings, and he said that the pitch was not so difficult to bat on. We had come prepared for a good fight from them, and we were ready to be patient and wait for the mistakes to happen. And that India was obviously pleasantly surprised by how quickly the match unraveled, how Australia collapsed without so much of a fight. It is very disappointing. You come to expect a certain heart from Australian cricket, if you like, a certain unwillingness to give up, to keep fighting till the end, and it was really, really disappointing as a cricket follower, as a cricket lover, to see how they gave up without so much as a fight.
And especially being the number one team in the world in Test rankings, ICC Test rankings.
Exactly. We talk about how your true character is tested when you go overseas.
Right.
We expect teams to do well in their backyard because those are the conditions that they are the most familiar with, and the true test of somebody's ability to rise to the challenges when you play away from home in difficult alien conditions. Australia came here a week before the start of the Test series. They spent 4 or 5 days in Bangalore at that camp where they tried to simulate the conditions that they thought would encounter them in the Test series. They brought people who they thought could replicate the challenges that Ashwin in particular would pose. But all of the preparation came to naught because I think in a lot of ways, while the technical inadequacies were exposed, I think the bigger picture is how much they had allowed what they thought might be available to them to affect their thinking. And I think much of this performance has to be attributed to the fragility of the mind more than the fragility of the batting technique.
Right. And a word on Ashwin. He's been a champion bowler. We have been discussing about him in the last few podcasts, and today again he proved his worth.
Yes, of course. He's the kind of bowler who keeps on trying to improve every day. He's not content with just being a good bowler. He wants to be a great bowler, and his definition of a great bowler stems from his own understanding of his craft. He's not so bothered about what somebody else says about his bowling. He's his greatest critic, and therefore he keeps going back to the nets to try and fix things, to try and add new things to his arsenal. And for somebody who's got 450 Test wickets, who's closing in on 100 Test appearances, to want to do this day in and day out is a remarkable trait to possess. Obviously, he's a very shrewd and very thinking cricketer. We all know that. But in this game, again, like we discussed yesterday, he was very patient in the first innings when Jadeja was doing all the damage. And today when he got the new ball and he got the wicket of Khawaja in the first over, after that he was just a completely different bowler. The angles that he used, the changes in trajectory, the flight difference, the fact that he could effortlessly mix the off break with the slider that goes straight on. It was just a masterclass, much like Rohit had batted yesterday and the day before. Just to watch Ashwin operate today, you knew that it was just somebody who at the supreme peak of his powers, knowing exactly what he wants to do and having the skill to do exactly what he wanted to do.
Right, Kaushik. When looking at this heavy loss for Australia, there are always some positives. So maybe they can look at Todd Murphy and maybe look at some changes in batting order or new personnel, or maybe the bowling changes as well, bowling combination.
Yeah, Todd Murphy was very, very impressive. Yes, the 7 wickets added to the fact that he had a great debut, but more than that, it's the manner in which he bowled, his control. Again, we spoke yesterday about how spinners coming from abroad can sometimes get carried away. he's a very young guy. He's only 22 years old, and before this test match, he had only played 7 first-class games. And for him to come and bowl so beautifully in these conditions, it was really nice to see how he was not overawed by the occasion. He was not overawed by the fact that he was bowling to a very accomplished Indian batting lineup. So yes, that is definitely a positive. Australia will think long and hard about their composition. David Warner's form has been quite iffy over the last sort of year or so. He's not had a lot of success. That is something that they might think about. Travis Head, they will wonder whether they did the right thing by leaving him out, even though his record in the subcontinent is not great. Australia today, Pat Cummins sort of indicated that Josh Hazlewood would not be available for the second test also. So that is obviously a setback. Mitchell Starc is supposed to join the team, I think, in the next couple of days in Delhi, and then they will take a call on whether he is available for selection in Delhi. They're still waiting to see how Cameron Green pulls up, because if Green is available for selection, then he presents them with a fifth bowling option as well as a solid batting option. So yeah, they have a lot of soul searching to do, but more than anything else, they will have to use these 2 days that they've got, because this test match ended in 3 days, to see how they can get rid of their fear of what might happen. And that, I think, is very crucial to how they go in the rest of the series.
And for India, do you see any changes for the next test starting on February 17 in Delhi, or the team management will stick with the winning combination?
Yeah, I think it's too early to start thinking about whether they will make changes. First of all, they will probably savor this victory for today.
Right.
Try and recover over the next couple of days, and then go to Delhi. Have a look at the conditions. I do not see any changes unless Shreyas Iyer is fit and available for selection, in which case we will automatically walk back into the middle order is what I would think will happen if he's available for selection. If he's not available for selection, and if all the other guys are available for selection, and I'll be very surprised if India make any changes.
Right. Moving away from this victory, little moment was there where we got the media release from ICC saying that Ravindra Jadeja was fined 25% of his match fee for applying a cream during play to his hand. So your thoughts on that fine, Kaushik?
Well, I mean, there is a clear breach of the ICC code of conduct, and the fact that the Indian team management and Jadeja accepted that they have been breached the code of conduct shows that there is no scope for any ambiguity as far as this case is concerned. It is an innocent mistake, but it is also a silly mistake, because there are so many rules and there are so many regulations, and therefore you cannot not be aware of what are the rules and what are the requirements. I know it was an innocent gesture in terms of the fact that you had a problem with your spinning finger. You needed to apply that ointment so that you can get rid of the pain a little bit. But your job when you do that, especially when you're bowling, is to let the umpires know that this is what you're doing. The fact that they didn't find him guilty of a larger offense shows that the umpires and the match officials also believe that it was just one of those things that happen sometimes in sport without any malicious intent. So it's important to remember the fact that there was no intent to do anything dishonest. It's just that you did not follow the protocol as it is laid out in the strictest sense of the term. So yeah, it's just a little lesson that there is nothing that is cut and dried as far as these things are concerned, and that when the umpires are there, whether it is you are required to do so or whether you are not required to do so, it's always better to err on the safe side of caution and tell them what you're doing and why you're doing it, so that there is no repeat of these instances going forward.
Right, Kaushik. One last question. After this huge defeat, how do you think Australia can bounce back, and or will India continue to dominate in the rest of the series?
Well, again, going back to what we discussed at the top of the show, Australia is renowned for their fighting spirit, for the pride and for the competitiveness. So they will dig deep into their reserves. I will be surprised if they bat as poorly as they did today, because there is a lot of pride in the team and there is a lot of quality in the team. Like you just mentioned a little while back, they are the number one test team in the world, right, and that is for a reason. Last year they had a good tour of Pakistan where they won the series 1-0. They had a decent tour of Sri Lanka. They won the first test, lost the second test. So they can take a little bit of confidence, a little bit of heart from those performances, while at the same time being mindful of the fact that this Indian team is qualitatively superior to the Pakistani and the Sri Lankan teams, as evidenced by the fact that India themselves ranked number 2 in test cricket in the world. So there is a lot of hard work ahead of Australia. There's a lot of soul searching. Technically, they cannot become much superior in 3 or 4 days' time. So They will have to do with the techniques that they have, but more than the technical and the cricketing side of things, they need to make sure that they are mentally up for the challenge, that they don't allow what has happened here to bog them down, and to believe in themselves and to believe in their ability to bounce back. And if they're convinced, not half-hearted attempts, Pat Cummins was talking about being more proactive. There's a very thin line between being brave and foolhardy. So when they want to come out the next time and they want to dominate or impose themselves, then they need to do it with the percentages in their favor. So it is a long road back for them when you lose in India in 2.5 days by an innings and 132 runs, when you get bowled out for 91 in just over one session, when you last less than 33 overs in a test match, when you have seen the opposition score 400 runs, when you have seen the opposition number 10 batsman face 47 deliveries, and only Steve Smith made more balls in the Australian second innings than Mohammad Shami did in India's first innings. So those are things that can weigh you down, but therefore it becomes very crucial for the team management, for the support staff, for the guys who are working behind the scenes to ensure that the frame of mind of the guys is positive and that they are not defined by this defeat, however debilitating it might have been.
Thanks, Kaushik, for your wonderful thoughts. Hopefully, we can expect a better contest, better fight back from Australia in Delhi.
Yes, Apu, thanks. Thank you. Looking forward to the test match and looking forward to reconnect in a few days' time from Delhi.
Right. Thank you.